Peppa and her classmates were on their way to a field trip in the city park. The road was empty. The sun was setting. Mist was rising from the fields. The children peered out the windows. Out of the fog appeared a figure in a long coat. The face was indistinguishable. The children stepped out of the bus. The wind stirred the trees. Silence pressed against their ears. The footpath led into a dense forest. Leaves rustled under their feet. The shadows of the trees shaped themselves into human silhouettes, moving on their own. In a clearing stood an old pavilion with broken windows. Inside, fleeting figures of children appeared, children who had never been there before. Tentacles of moss and water clutched at Peppa's shoes. The shadows mimicked her movements, their faces distorted. The children recoiled, but the bridge began to shake and sway. Roots rose from the ground like tentacles, wrapping around Peppa's and her friends' legs. The shadows surrounded them, blocking the way back. From the center of the darkness emerged a massive figure with a dozen red eyes. It bent down toward Peppa. Tentacles coiled around her shoulders and legs. The children stood frozen. No subscribe. Nightmares arrive. An old television in the living room flickered with blue light. An advertisement was playing, a cheerful cartoon about La Boo Boo at the cinema. The halls were filled with viewers, but now the theater had long been closed. At the end of the clip, La Boo Boo on the screen stretched out its hand, pointed directly at Evie. A ticket crawled out of the TV speakers, printed on sticky black paper. It smelled of mold. Papa Pig took the ticket. His eyes dulled. He took Peppa and Evie to the cinema. The building was dark, windows boarded up, heavy curtains of cobwebs hung. Inside, it smelled of dust and old sugar. They entered. Shadows sat in the hall, silhouettes, former viewers. They were frozen in their seats forever. Their eyes glowed with a sickly green light. Instead of a cartoon, a distorted version of Peppa's life played on the screen. Her friends smiled too broadly, holding La Boo Boo. Then they showed Peppa's parents. They looked with empty eyes. All served La Boo Boo. Papa Pig leaned toward Peppa. His breath was cold. Soon you will also become part of our happy crew. Peppa jumped up and tried to run. But suddenly the chairs in the hall came to life. Their armrests twisted, turned into black tentacles. They wrapped around her arms and legs, pinning Peppa back to the chair. Evie was projected onto the screen, but her face was La Boo Boo's face. She was laughing. Papa Pig donned a ticket-taker's uniform. His movements became sharp, mechanical. He tore the ticket. Black ink splattered onto the floor. The session had begun. No turning back. The screen went dark. The hall plunged into silence. A sound was heard, a tearing film reel, or vocal cords. Peppa wakes up in her room. Outside the window, dawn is breaking. Everything is calm. She plays with George while Mom and Dad are busy with their chores. A strange feeling outside the window. Peppa approaches the window. The sky is gray, foggy. The air is cold. She feels a sense of unease, as if something is watching her. Distortion of reality. She washes her face and looks in the mirror. Her face changes, her eyes darken, and her smile becomes sinister. A cold blue light appears in the room, creating a distortion effect. Suddenly, the mirror cracks and shatters. Shards fall to the floor, and a shadow appears in the reflection, quickly disappearing. The room disappears, an entrance to another reality. Suddenly, objects dissolve or vanish. Peppa finds herself in a gray room with no windows or doors. The walls are covered with mysterious symbols and fingerprints. A faint rustling sound can be heard in the air. Whispers of the past, soft voices. Remember, you're not alone here. All memories are part of you. They grow louder, as if someone is whispering right into her ear. Peppa feels a chill down her spine. Shadows appear. George with empty eyes, Mommy Pig with tears on her face, Daddy Pig breathing heavily, his face distorted by fear. They move or stand still, their shadows stretch across the walls, creating a creepy atmosphere. Peppa realizes the room has remembered all of the characters' fears. She searches for runes or symbols on the walls to understand what's happening. Suddenly, snake-like hands or claws start stretching out from the walls, trying to grab her. The characters begin to disappear or transform into terrifying creatures. George screams about a zombie dinosaur with empty black-red eyes. Mommy Pig cries, and her tears turn into drops of black liquid. Daddy Pig breathes heavily and looks very scared. His face is distorted by fear. At this moment, a sinister bunny appears with glowing eyes and an evil smile, watching everything with malice. Peppa decides to break the runes on the walls with a hammer. When she hits them, the walls crack and vibrate. At that moment, a huge monster emerges from the darkness, a creature with long claws, sharp teeth, and burning eyes. It growls and tries to grab her. After destroying the symbols, everything around plunges into darkness. The monster roars and disappears into an abyss. The room completely vanishes. Only emptiness or endless darkness remains. Peppa returns to her room. Everything seems normal again. But inside her remains a feeling of heaviness and fear. She sits by the window of her house with a pensive expression. No subscribe, nightmares arrive. An anonymous package stood on the nursery doorframe, a bright box. Peppa opened it. Inside there was no figurine. Instead, a bundle wrapped in sterile swaddling cloth lay there. A faint laughter emanated from it. Peppa unwrapped the cloth. It was a plush Labubu. Its eyes shimmered too wetly, too consciously. Peppa threw the toy aside, but moments later it was already lying in Evie's crib. By itself, the toy wouldn't let Evie go. The girl clutched it in her hands. The plush's eyes became alive. Deep, from its half-open mouth, a black substance oozed, thick, sticky. It dripped onto the swaddling cloth, soaking into the baby's skin. Mama Pig was delighted.
Look how much she likes it. How cute.
Her eyes glazed over. Pupils shrank into dots. She didn't see the black veins appearing on Evie's arms. She didn't hear the quiet whisper coming from the toy. The whisper sounded like the squeak of foam rubber. At night, Peppa heard sounds from the nursery. She entered. Evie was awake. Her eyes were wide open, filled with black liquid. The plush Labubu sat on her chest. Its tentacle-like arms had sunk into the baby's hands. Evie wasn't crying. She was smiling. Her mouth stretched into an unnatural grin, just like the toys. Black syrup was flowing from the corners of her mouth. Mama Pig stood in the doorway. Her neck was wrapped in cellophane tape. She was shaking her head. The movements were sharp, jerky.
Quiet. Don't disturb them while they play.
Behind her, in the hallway, a pile of empty boxes was stacked. They moved. Soft whistling came from them. Peppa stepped back. She stepped on something soft. Dozens of plush Labubu lay on the floor. Their eyes gleamed in the dark. The air filled with a sound, a quiet children's laughter, and endless rustling of cellophane. The family enters a vast Victorian greenhouse. Dozens of pots with exotic plants surround them. In the center rises a wooden sculpture of Labubu holding a flower. A close-up of the wooden Labubu's face. In its bead-like eyes, the shadows of shifting plants are reflected. On the petals of a rare orchid, patterns emerge, resembling grinning Labubu faces. In the heart of the flower, among the stamens, tiny seeds glitter, shaped like miniature Labubus. The leaves on the walls form silhouettes that resemble the family members, but with disproportionately large heads. Drops of condensation slide down the glass ceiling. They merge into patterns that form smiles. The family steps into a closed pavilion. The air is sweet and heavy with the scent of orchids. At the center stands a vase filled with transparent nectar. Inside float tiny labubus, as if made from candied fruit. All the walls are covered with orchids, their petals resembling labubu's enormous ears. On a gleaming drop of nectar appears the inverted reflection of the family, and each face bears labubu's features. The roots of the plants intertwine, weaving a web. Faces take shape within its cells. Sprouts begin to push through the floor. They grow rapidly, transforming into stems with lantern-shaped flowers in the form of labubu. The pavilion door becomes overgrown with ivy. Its heart-shaped leaves fold into the shapes of eyes. The family finds themselves before an ancient tree. In its trunk gapes a hollow shaped like labubu's wide smile. Inside the hollow lies a nest of intertwined roots. Within it sits a massive labubu made of living flowers. Petals fall from the branches, forming portraits of the family on the ground, only with plant-like features. The floral labubu gazes straight into the camera. In each of her flower eyes is a tiny reflection of the family members. The tree's branches bend, forming an arch that leads into the hollow. Roots rise from the earth, gently wrapping around the family's legs, covering them with blooming patterns. The family transforms into living topiary sculptures in the shape of labubu. Their faces become perfect floral compositions. The great flower labubu nods slightly, and the garden freezes in eternal balance.